Hi, I need your help. We need to help each other out. I need you to listen to my story from front to end. This is but part of the struggle I've been going through. I'm tired. I'm tired of being tired. My story affects you. You could have been me in the past. You might be me now. You could be me in the future. I guarantee if you're not me, you know somebody that is me that will be me. A little bit about myself. I served 20 years in the military. I retired. I sold cars for a short time. I drove taxis for a few years. While driving a taxi, I got my pilot certificate. I would fly and maintain airplanes during the day and take ground school at night. Ironically, 9/11 was the first day I was supposed to fly with passengers. I then quit driving a cab to go to college. I eventually started going to college full time and a half and was debating double time when my military service caught up with me. Listening to my story, you're going to learn what false hopes and promises are. You're going to learn about the deck stacked so high against you, you can't get over it no matter what. To say this doesn't affect everybody would be an understatement. You may save lives. The life you save may be your own. I get a little tongue-tied and my mouth gets dry from all the medicine. But I implore you, please watch this from beginning to end. You won't regret it. For the last few years, I've been debating eating a bullet. Which changed? Well, you tell me. When you watch this, please don't watch alone. I guarantee you'll find at least one person minimum that would like to see me eat a bullet. I made it as short as I could. I didn't use everybody's name or phone number. I didn't put all the paperwork here. The dates are more important than anything. There's enough for you to draw your own conclusion and verify my information with other people. We'll see who lies and who doesn't. Over 2 years ago through the WAVY, I requested a hearing in Washington, D.C. before a VA judge. It is documented on my medical records that my back was screwed up during my military service, and it's part of the reason I have to use a wheelchair, and it's getting worse. The VA awarded me 0%. It took them about 2 years to respond this time. They said they placed me on a list for travel board hearing per my request. I did not request a travel board hearing. I requested a hearing in Washington, D.C. before a VA judge. I sent them my reply and told them that I wanted a VA hearing before a judge in Washington, D.C. I also asked for copies of my missing medical records. I got years missing from my records. They replied faster this time. First they said they didn't have the missing records. Then they sent me a response about my hearing, and again they said, I requested a travel board hearing. I didn't. I requested a hearing in Washington before a judge. Now either this is a new delay tactic by the VA or political intervention. I don't know which. In 2001, I was diagnosed with a mild sleep disorder. I will get back to that later. In 2003, one of my feet was locked and numb. I went to the ER. I was later sent to have an EMG done and saw a neurologist. My foot was getting better, or so I thought. I was diagnosed with peripheral neuropathy. There are different kinds, and I won it with the worst kind. But at the end of the year, the pain was in both feet and legs, and was so bad I would cry that I couldn't cry no more. Eventually, I had to learn to live with it. It really made me want to kill myself back then. I could no longer go to school. I had asked one doctor to cut my legs off. My doctor didn't even give me no medicine until I was about crawling in her office. I had no coordination. I would walk like I was drunk and couldn't walk far or for long. I was actually refused service at some stores because they thought I was drunk. Usually they could smell my breath and look in my eyes, but one store wouldn't even do that. I told them to call the police and I would wait, that if I was drinking and driving, they'd come arrest me. Well, they wouldn't do that, but one of the workers there I found knew who I was and about my struggles. The pain and lack of coordination eventually went to my hands and arms. In 2003 and 2004, my father needed help with getting to his doctor's appointment and post-surgery care. He had been disabled for years and never had a handicap placard for his truck. We talked to his doctor and he qualified. We got him one, but it was mainly for me. He did have a problem walking far. He had a trach in his throat. When we went to his doctor's, he would have to go and get me a wheelchair in order for me to go in with him. He died in 2004. One day someone seen I was having a hard time getting from my truck to the scooter in the store. This woman asked me if I was collecting Social Security disability. I told her no. She talked for me for a little while and said I should. I talked to my doctor about it. She said I haven't been able to work for a long time and should also. She said to make sure I kept fighting for it because she heard of the horror stories about what people had to go through to get it. I asked was she willing to help me, and she said yes. She wanted to give me something in writing that could be misinterpreted in many ways. She said she had never did it before and copied what she found off the web. I went to Social Security's web page, and they have a list of medical conditions that are considered so severe they mean you automatically qualify, that you're disabled. My condition was on there. It even said in spite of prescribed treatment for my condition. I met all the requirements. I put in for it and they said automatically it's just a guideline. They said even though I have a history of all the conditions that I met, I responded fairly well to treatment. They say only their doctors can say if I'm disabled or not. They sent me to a doctor who starts typing on a typewriter before even talking to me. I guess he doesn't want anything traced back to him. Well, they don't even check on your condition. They do an EKG and take a chest x-ray. I found out this is their standard practice no matter your problem. If your heart beats and you have lungs, you're not disabled. They do zero testing what your problems are. I talked to a disability lawyer about appealing. He told me I was too young and educated to collect disability. He said if I had a 6th grade education and was a janitor, I might have a shot. He started to say something else about not speaking English, but he caught himself. He later sends me a letter referencing the conversation we never had on why he couldn't help me. If I was too young and educated to collect it, then why the hell am I paying for it? What makes a lesser educated person in more pain or have worse hardships than me? I had told a couple of my state reps at a Civic League meeting about their helping me, and they said Social Security is a federal program, not a state. Then why is Social Security saying that the state disapproved it? I appealed for reconsideration and was denied. Why does Social Security deny people? Not everyone in Social Security pays for it like we do. Some retire with a lump sum. I strongly believe that when you put in for disability, that your account now belongs to one of them. It now becomes a battle for you to pry it away from them, which is why Social Security says if you apply for it again and win, you will receive little or no money. It depends on if that person wants to give any of it up. I was in Social Security's office and one of them had to write a check to someone who won his benefits for $100,000. Everyone was giving out condolences for that person. Social Security will deny all this. They exploit us all. They have more secrets than the CIA, and there's zero transparency. You will never get the truth out of them. I requested a hearing before Social Security judge. By this time, my sleep disorder was bad enough to where I was sleeping every other day. I was taking sleeping pills that weren't working. After years of my wife nagging me to get a wheelchair of my own, I finally broke down and received one. Just before my hearing, CBS was doing a special report on Social Security and talked about how Virginia was one of the hardest states to collect disability. Based on this, I wrote my senator, Senator Webb, before my hearing and told him, based on what I seen on TV, I would probably need his help if I get denied my Social Security. I followed up with a phone call to his office in D.C. after my hearing and asked specifically what he could do for me. I was told he could bypass all the red tape and find out what the problem was, but I had to go through the system first. The judge ruled against me. I went from not being disabled to being disabled, but not before my insurance ran out. How convenient. I brought up that automatically disabled and the list to the judge in court, but was ignored. I called Senator Webb's office and told the person in his office that I went through the system and now need his help. I told this person his story, and he told me I was told the wrong thing. The senator doesn't help people. He said that's not his job. I asked to talk to the senator and was told he didn't talk to everybody that calls. I asked to meet him, and again, he doesn't meet people, is what I was told. He does not help people. The guy says, let me tell you what his job is. I said, I know what his job is, and hung up. I then called Congressman Bobby Scott's office, my congressman. I told him what I went through, including Senator Webb's office. They assured me that they could help. I gave them the information. The woman later called me up and told me she did an investigation and everything I said was true and I needed to talk to Congressman Scott. She requested an appointment. I called back after a few months and she said she would follow up. Again, after some time went by, she said she didn't know what the problem was, gave me the scheduler's phone number. I was told by the scheduler she had some openings and would call me, let me know if I would get one. This went on for months. I finally caught up with Congressman Scott at a City Hall meeting he was having to talk about President's objectives. I told him I was having a problem getting a meeting with him. He brushed me off because he had to talk about the President's agenda and sent me to one of his people. I told that person what was going on, and he told me to put in for it again. I said, your office already did an investigation, and I told me I needed to talk to the congressman. I also told him I would get little or no money if I applied for Social Security again, and he told me that's not true. He also told me about somebody having something on the web asking for help. They all got a good laugh of it. I'm not sure if he knew that was me or not, but it let me know what they think about the people they're supposed to serve. I also found out that the only person who even attempted to help me was now retired. I keep thinking in the back of my mind that I hope it wasn't because of me. Congressman made it clear to me I would get no help from them. Margaret Gator, I believe, is the person that helped me. She is the only one, through all my struggles, who attempted to do anything. I appealed again to Social Security, and they refused to hear my case and told me to sue them. I called about every lawyer in the area, including one recommended from a Social Security advocacy group, and mostly all of them did not take it to the federal level. The couple did would only take the case if they had it from the beginning. I worked for a short time for the now Congressman Scott Ridgel. I thought he was a decent man at that time. I talked to his people and I tried to see him. I was told I had to talk to my congressman. I already told him what I went through with the congressman and the senator. They put me in contact with my congressman's people again, and we set up a meeting to meet in Norfolk State. The person I talked to didn't show up. He sent a college girl to talk to me. I gave her all the information again, and she stressed that they would get in touch with me, and the lady was busy, so just wait for them to contact me. It's a good thing I didn't hold my breath. I then wrote Scott Ridgel a letter and sent it to his home. I finally received a call from his people. They were finally going to help me. I went to his office with all the paperwork I had. They had made copies, and I had to sign a release form for them to help me. The woman at the time asked, did I want to sign a release for the VA so they could help. I let her know the DAV was helping me with that. About a year later, I went to Congressman Ridgel's office because I hadn't heard from them. They said they sent me an email a year ago because I hadn't signed the release. I told them I signed a release in that room, and she even asked did I want to sign one for help with the VA. I said, I'm about giving up on all this. She said, don't do that. We'll help you. I signed another release in May 2014. In September 2014, she forwarded a copy of Social Security's reply. I wrote back to her saying, this was the exact reply we knew we'd get, which was the reason I needed help to begin with. I emailed her back. I received no reply from her email. I left messages and received no phone calls. I went to her office again and was told that she, Kathleen Redmond, wasn't in. Another person came to talk to me and said they have nothing to do with Social Security and can't help. She said they can't help with the VA either and gave me a state person to contact for help with the VA. I asked if she had a number for the state rep and dealing with Social Security. She said the states have nothing to do with it. I showed her she was wrong. I found out that Kathleen Redmond was there hiding in another room. Since they assured me from the start that Congressman Ridgel takes an interest in all his cases, when I thought he was a decent man, I'm not sure he's a decent human being at this time. Senator, Congressman, Democrat or Republican, they all seem to be the same. They put things in writing like my staff and I are here to help you. They list what they can help you with, and then you find out it's all lies. The only one I didn't ask for help from was my governor. I wonder how many politicians, especially governors, don't know that their states work with or for Social Security in decision-making on their people. I'll bet if you show just about any competent doctor my back MRI or X-ray from 2003, leave no name on it for them, they would tell you that person is screwed up. The following is a list of my medical problems. And this isn't even all of them. By this time, actually in the last couple of years before I went to my hearing, I was having a real problem sleeping. I was sleeping about every other day. I was taking antidepressant pills to go to sleep, along with sleep medicine, and it wasn't working. I did that for a long time, slept every other day. Matter of fact, the time I went to court for the hearing for the judge before the judge for Social Security was one of them nights I was up all night. You know, out of all these diseases, it's not a full list. I got 3 of the worst kind of diseases on the planet. It's called compassion, caring, and a conscience. What I call them a disease in today's world, if everybody had this disease, we wouldn't have all the wars and killings we have going on the planet right now. So yes, I feel it's considered a disease because, think about it, to care for something, have compassion and a conscience, let's be fair about it. Most of the people in this world don't have it. Politicians, Social Security, lawyers, judges, and most of the everyday Joe. There's more animals than people. There's more animals than people on this planet that have them 3 afflictions. We are calling Karen Wolff.
Hi everybody, this is Karen in the one and only
Eden
Eden Cab.
Cab. Karen used to be a friend. I've helped her out plenty times, both with her cab and financially. Last year, Karen called me in the summertime. She was on her way to her niece's wedding in Texas when her taxi broke down. She called me up because she didn't have enough money to rent a truck to get back here. She had enough for the tow and anything else she needed, but she couldn't get a rental. She didn't have enough money. I said, okay, how much is it? It was like less than $400, thereabouts. I said, okay, but I need to get paid back. She said she needed a new engine and would take care of me when she got back. It may take a little bit. I gave the clerk in Tennessee the information. It was supposed to be for a rental truck from Tennessee to Norfolk, Virginia. Well, I didn't hear nothing from Karen for a couple of weeks. She shows up at my doorstep crying. She was getting ready to lose everything she had that was in storage. And she didn't have money to pay for it. She shows me charge tickets and vouchers for hundreds of dollars and thousands that she was owed and couldn't get collected on until she can get on base. Karen knows I am disabled and haven't worked in years. She knows I'm thousands of dollars in debt because of that. The only good thing I had going for me was I had credit cards. I owed a lot of money on them, but she assured me she would get right back to me when she gets her cab back. I said, okay, I'll go with you for your storage. I go outside my house and there's a U-Haul truck there. I asked, is that the same U-Haul truck from Tennessee? She says, no, as if I insulted her. She says, I'm paying for this. I'm like, okay. So we went to pay her rental fees at the storage unit. Well, I waited for Karen. She finally calls me back and says, hey, I got good news. I'll let you know when I see you. So I got a hold of her again. She says, I'll be there this Saturday and we'll get everything settled. Saturday come, no Karen, no phone call. Sunday comes, no Karen, no phone call. I don't hear from Karen for a while. I finally started making phone calls to people I haven't talked in a long time because I was worried, and I was told she was out there working. He said, she won't pick up the phone for you. I did some research and found out she owed another guy a bunch of money. Actually, she owes a lot of people money. I tried to file charges against her in Norfolk with the police. The police said it was civil. I go to the civil magistrate. He says it's criminal. I go to the police again. They said, no, I want to talk to the assistant prosecutor for the state. She said the police will initiate the findings and she'll look for it across my desk. Again, the police didn't do nothing about it. I went to the Norfolk-based police, since she drives a cab. They didn't want to hear about it. If it's nothing they've seen, it doesn't matter to them. I went to the airport police, seeing she works at the airport. They didn't want nothing to do with it. They told me to drop it. Now, the people she supposedly has eating cab, they have an address in Norfolk, Virginia, but that address never existed. It exists on DMV as the address registered for the business. So the corporation that registered that business gave a bogus address that they weren't using. It hasn't been used by these people ever. It's listed, corporation is listed under an address in Virginia Beach. Karen's address, hers is phony too. She hasn't lived in that address for years. As you can see here, Eden Cab Company, 628 West 24th Street, Norfolk, Virginia. But even if you go to the website, you'll find out that that address is a canvas place that's been there for almost 30 years. I talked to my credit card people, because everything was on credit card, and they told me to try to settle with the people that she dealt with. They told me I had to go to chargeback services and ask for an investigation. My credit card company supposedly did an investigation and told me that all the charges were justified. How can they be justified when I pay for the storage units based on false information that she gave me? I did not authorize her to have the truck for an extra 20 days that she kept it. The truck outside was still under my name. Now, even though I have recordings of U-Haul telling me she signed a promissory note, also telling me I should file charges against her, two people said that. One lady keeps on referring to the contract she signed, that it's none of my business. DMV says it's none of my business who owns the cab, where she lives. It's none of my business whether that business exists or not. So you have a cab driver with a phony address on her license who drives for a phony business that never existed in the city of Norfolk. I'm sure she's out there hitting more and more people up wherever she can. She needs to be stopped.
They used up a lot of mileage on that truck. That's where most of the basis of the charges was. And you're going to probably have to get with her, sir, to try to get your money refunded, or either
wait a minute,
press charges against this person.
Wait a minute. I only authorized the truck from point A to point B. She supposedly had 20 extra days. All I told the clerk, I gave the clerk the information. I didn't give it to her, and it was for the ride from from Tennessee to Norfolk. Now, nobody called me and said she never turned her truck in or any of that. Yet nobody said nothing to me until I get the bill and the credit card thing, and she signed a promissory note with y'all, and yet I'm responsible, even though I didn't authorize it. Y'all don't say nothing to me about it.
Yes, sir. Well, yes, sir. The credit card that was on file is responsible for that, and I do apologize for the inconvenience with that. But you are going to have to file charges against her on credit card fraud, and there won't.
Well, the way we have to do it is we have to get something from, what was that, your credit union? We have to get something from your credit union saying that you dispute the charges. Then we go from there. They don't do it with me talking to you. It has to come from the bank that you disputed. So tell
Right, but if he ever goes to rent the card number, it's going to be linked to the ELR.
That's a big unit.
I canceled that car because
Worst case scenario,
Good job.
worst case
Okay.
scenario, you could have.
All right, love you too. Bye.
I didn't give her the card information, but I
Right, but it
canceled.
was on file for the rental. You canceled the card. Ultimately, Karen Wolff is responsible for it. Okay.
Okay, so what I do as far as the credit card company?
They don't come like
For what? You had agreed to pay for the rental.
Right, from point A to point B, not the
no, we just have to.
extra miles and not that tow thing, whatever the hell
Well,
she
you
got.
you didn't pay for that.
Just,
It was put on a promissory note.
And then a box
If you've canceled that card, that was your link to that. That was your only link to that. The promissory note is, I don't show any payment on the promissory note.
You know? Where's Eden Cab Company at, you know? Eden? This is 628 West 24th Street, right? This is the address they have listed. The address the Norfolk Police gave me is where they're located. I didn't think so. Alright, thank you much.
U-Haul tells me at least twice to file fraud charges. They tell me she signed a promissory note and I'm not responsible. But then I am responsible and explains it on a contract that she signed that was none of my business. The contract was between her and them. She used my car as insurance and she was the one who's supposed to tell me, not them, what she intends to do. It was also none of my business where she took the truck or how long she was keeping it. She also used a false address on the contract, which I received a copy of after the fact. Public storage said to have my credit card company do a chargeback. Even though I told them I paid for the storage under false pretense, they could care less about how she paid for it. They got their money. My credit card company said they did an investigation and all the charges were good. DMV says it's none of my business where she lives or who owns the cab. The business, which also has a false address, is none of my business. Civil court clerk tells me that if I don't have her address and file a suit, I will get in trouble with the judge for wasting his time. The Norfolk Police, Base Police, Airport Police, the Navy, DMV, Assistant Commonwealth's Attorney, Public Storage, and at least one news station all know that her address and the business address, Eden Taxi, does not exist. Not one person, the police or the news, wanted to hear my recordings. In fact, the one reporter I was emailing back and forth said it wasn't a big enough story for them. Yet the next week or so, they hear a story about a man who borrowed money from a couple people, promised to pay them back and didn't. I at least tried to contact everyone I knew and could still get a hold of to warn them about her, which is what nobody did for me. Had anyone did a real investigation, got off their asses and verified that these people are who they say they are, live where they say they live, and the hardest one, go see if that business is actually at an address they say it they are, we not be in this position where we are today and may have saved a life. If the news channels would have done a story on it when I asked them to, they may have saved another person who was hit by her for a couple grand or so, using the flowing tears that she used on me and probably everyone else she's taken advantage of. I have called Karen Wolff hundreds of times and left numerous messages and have never received a response. John Sadowski contracts with Karen to unload cargo and ferry passengers from the Mac terminal. He knows a lot of people she owes money to. He said she doesn't show up for passengers going out of state sometimes. He takes them, but she puts in a voucher for the trip so she can get paid for it. He said he has a company who handles the finances for him now, and he told them about it. He said she was getting paid right away, and that she even had some vouchers she did not turn in yet that she might not get paid for. He said he even told his wife not to loan her money because they are friends also. Yet he still uses her. Would you want your cargo or ride with her in a cab? If she's doing this to friends, what the hell is she doing with the passengers? I guarantee if anybody leaves anything behind, they will not get it back. Karen Wolff, 757-714-5656. You need a cab in Norfolk, Virginia, you make sure you call her. John Sadowski, he's the guy that contracts with her. I suspect they're good friends, which is why he keeps her. Inspector White is a police officer I talked to on all 3 occasions. Sharon Good issues base passes to taxi drivers from the Navy Exchange. She assures me they get a thorough background check and they're all citizens. CNRMA supposedly wants to do the taxi background checks. Lieutenant Pete, Navy JAG officer, told me I should get a lawyer. Mike, he's one of the people I tried to warn him about her. And when I called up asking about her, apparently he's a friend. He told me to let it drop. So I'm assuming he's a good friend of Karen's. Frank Sawers, the one she owed $6,000. He won't commit suicide, reportedly or maybe supposedly, allegedly, however you want to do it, because of her. If I was his family, I would look into that and see what I could do. Janie Kessop and Teresa Marrow are the people I talked to at U-Haul. Lakeisha is one of the people I talked to at Public Storage. She does passengers or cargo at the Navy base. Amazing. If you watched this all the way through so far, I want to thank you. I'm sure by now you understand what I mean about hopelessness. Did you count how many people would want to see me dead? Or has it gone from how many people see me dead to how many people want to kill me? As far as me killing myself, let me tell you a little story. When I was young, I had an accident and I died. How do I know I was dead? I was in the air, I seen the bright light everybody talked about, and I seen my body lying on the ground. It was the most euphoric feeling you ever have. The only thing that saved me was my buddies calling my name. I really believe that's what brought me back. When I was floating there, all I could think about was my family. While they were calling my name, all of a sudden I'm on the ground looking up at the sky. For that reason alone, there is no way in hell I'm going to kill myself. No way. This is just a cat gone for effect. The VA. I replied twice for a hearing in Washington before a judge. I'm going to request it a 3rd time. I'm going to ask for a reason letter if they don't understand to find an interpreter, or if I'm real lucky, somebody will watch this and understand what I'm talking about. Social Security. Biggest scam there ever was. Social Security. There's a contradiction in terms. Social Security. There's nothing social about it and there's nothing secure about it. They can do whatever they want. They can put in writing all they want and don't have to follow it. Just like politicians, they can write anything they want. They can tell you anything you want. No matter how bad they lie, what are you going to do about it? There's nothing you can do about it. What makes a less educated person more disabled than a more educated person? Yes, I graduated high school. Yes, I have a little bit of college. Is my pain not equal to theirs? Probably more. I can see why dead people get checks from Social Security, because under their rules, one person is more dead than the other. That's logic to me. That makes sense the way they operate. How many people lose their job because of a life-threatening illness? They lose their job, they lose insurance. They go to Social Security to try to get the benefits that they paid into so they can get the treatment they need. Social Security's philosophy is deny until they die. You already know my feeling on why they do that. How many people actually die who could have been saved waiting on that? I think that's called crimes against humanity. Politicians know this. Nobody understands Social Security. Why should somebody have to get a lawyer for Social Security benefits that they paid into? And rather than calling a lawyer, not only should the people applying for disability call your politicians, but everybody should call your politicians. Call your senators, your congressmen. Ask them, if I become disabled, why do I need a lawyer to get my benefits? Why? The lawyers are not the solution to the problem. It's the politicians. Those are the ones, and the president can change things. call them up, write them, email them, ask them the question. Hopefully, eventually, one day we'll get an answer. Why do I have to call a lawyer to get the benefits I paid for because I got denied by Social Security? Politicians, they fill you up with false hope and promises. They got a bunch of problems on their hands. They have to worry about supporting other countries' military at the expense of ours. And they got to worry about illegal immigrants, who all will probably qualify for SSI once they get blessed with staying here in their green card. I didn't list all the names, and I didn't put all the paperwork here on this film, because it would have been a long one if I did, because I got a lot of paperwork and a lot to say, and I don't want to waste your time with it all. Foreign militaries get more support from our government, and illegals get more support from our government than our citizens do. God help this country. Here's an idea. I will go on national TV and take a lie detector test as to if I was or was not disabled before my disability insurance ran out. And to make it fair, Social Security, why don't you send 2 people there to take a lie detector test to prove I'm wrong? In all fairness, let me pick the 2. I challenge the politicians to take a lie detector test. I just want to know, would they or wouldn't they have helped me if I paid them? That's the way things are normally done. You pay them. I'm sorry I didn't have the money to pay them. I'd just like to know if they would have helped if I did pay them. And Congressman Bobby Scott, I'd like to know if he really thinks it's funny that his constituents need help. I dare him to take a lie detector test to say he didn't laugh because I needed help. Let's get everything out in the open now. Get it over with. Let's prove who's right and who's wrong. I think what Social Security does amounts to genocide. President Barack Obama, you can do to Social Security what somebody else did to the IRS. You can make sure they clean house, treat the taxpayers with respect, do away with these lawyer commercials, don't make us have to fight for something we paid into. If another country did what we did, we'd be all over them. You go after insurance companies in this country during national disasters when they refuse to pay out. How about we look in our own backyard before we start going after them? Seems fair to me. But I guess there's no such thing as fairness. President Obama, that's what you call change. You need to change it. Only you can do it. We know in reality they're not going to do this because they don't want the truth. They don't want you to know what's going on. If I asked my governor for help, there might have been a little conflict there because I did help a little bit on his campaign. I spent whatever time I could, which wasn't a whole lot, and the things I did wasn't really a whole lot, but I tried. You know, you try to get ahead in life and get that education, but unfortunately, once you get it and you start working, if something happens and you become disabled, you're screwed. The person that doesn't get the education can have the same illness as you, just have a lower education, and they're going to get what you can't get. It's a shame. Eventually, the banks aren't going to let you have your own money. It's going to be considered entitlement. I won't be surprised they take the government's playbook and say, well, sue us. Maybe by then they'll have their own judges. Who's going to pay me the money that's owed to me from Karen? Is the city of Norfolk going to do it? Norfolk Police? Is the Navy going to do it? Is the airport going to do it? I'm left with no options. Well, Osama bin Laden should have came to Norfolk. He could open up a business and be driving a cab on base. He'd probably still be alive. She's got the protection of everybody, including the media. She ruins lives. All these people do, really. Lies and lies and false hope and false promises. One reporter, Mike Mather, didn't think this was a big enough corruption case. Well, if it's not big enough for you, then you must be part of the problem and part of that corrupt system. You could have saved somebody else from getting ripped off, just like she ripped me off and all these other people. Karen Wolff, the closest thing you ever come to seeing a true demon. Black heart. Destroys lives. Doesn't care. But she's got the protection of everybody. The Norfolk police won't let me friggin' press charges because they say it's civil. The civil tells me it's criminal. Can't file. Can't file a suit. Nobody knows where she lives, and it's none of my business. Let me see. She pays the Norfolk police for a taxi permit, the airport to work there, and she pays the Navy base to work there. Is that a conflict of interest? Decide for yourself. Is she a criminal? Apparently not. Doesn't have a valid home address or a valid business address. But apparently it's all legal because everybody knows that nobody wants to do nothing. She's out there having a good old time, taking people for thousands and thousands of dollars. And apparently none of us got a friggin' leg to stand on. If within the next 10 days, Karen Wolff isn't in hell, in jail, or off the streets, nobody wants to stop her, I might just have to take that into my own hands. If I do, I guarantee you, I will give her something to cry about. I'm told I should have to get a lawyer. For what? Doing nothing wrong? I've had a bad experience with lawyers. In the past 15 years, I hired 3 of them. 2 of them lied to me. One of them eventually, after a year, gave me my money back. The other one screwed up so much and was billing me for all the screw-ups until I threatened to sue him for malpractice. And the third one, I knew more about the subject matter law than he did. I don't know how to find an honest, competent lawyer. If anybody in the Hampton Roads area knows of one, please let me know. An honest, competent attorney. Please let me know. You know, I've only got one thing on my bucket list. Have $1 billion. If I had $1 billion, I don't think I'd be having all these problems. Not only that, I'm 51% sure that I know which direction to go to cure some of these neurological diseases. The only problem is it takes money. I cannot do the work myself where I can point somebody in the right direction. But I'm nobody. Nobody's getting nothing done. Billionaires do. I can't fight millionaires when I'm poor. For $1 billion, I can. So if somebody out there has $1 billion they don't need, consider it an experiment however you want to do it. If you're willing to give me $1 billion, you'll see some miracles happen. Just about guaranteed. If you're still with me, I'd like to thank you. I'm no filmographer, and this will take me a lot of days and a lot of hours to do. The problems I have, this is only the tip of the iceberg of what I've been dealing with over the years. Most people wouldn't last a week in my body. I would really like this to go viral. As you see, it can not only help me, but it can help you and other people. It's going to take people power to get the changes done in this country. We can't sit at home and complain about it and not do anything. I've written the president, congressmen, and senators, not only asked for help from myself, but pointing out inequities and other things. So your help is really appreciated making this go viral. We can make a change together. Thank you.